Sister girl got hers decreased. And I'll say this is my average of 25 to 30 days. I didn't normally go over 30 days. If I had a rec open 30 days, sister girl starting to feel some type of way. I had a few that were over 30, so this is the average, because I had some that definitely went over 30, but I had quite a few that I feel in like 3 days. Like I can take a candidate through all interviews in 3 days or 5 days or a week and like bam, through all rounds of interviews. So my screening, 2 to 3, sometimes 4 extra interviews. So like I'd have a candidate interviewing 2 times in a day, or a day every one interview every single day of the week, and fill it. I like that. I like that. Hey y'all, this is Tamika, the face behind Hey HR, and I am so excited to tell you guys all about my first year as a senior talent acquisition specialist. Though I've been working in human resources for quite some time, I've done a ton of recruiting. But this year, starting in November 2021, that was my first time being dedicated for talent acquisition, and I absolutely loved it. So if you guys want to know more about my experience as a senior talent acquisition specialist, then definitely keep watching. If y'all didn't pay attention, I said I enjoyed it. Well, now I have recently been promoted, I guess you could say, to Human Resources Business Partner. So I did literally a year as a Senior Talent Acquisition Specialist, and I did that from November 2021 until now. I did it for a global company, and our brand, we have almost 2,000 employees. Our parent company, which we're housed in, that parent company has about 5,000 employees. We operate in 11 of our parent companies, 19 countries across the globe. And so I had the pleasure and the great time of looking for talent, not only in the US, but also UK, as well as India. Those were primarily the countries that I aimed for. I mean, I would consider applicants in like Canada and stuff, but primarily the US, India, as well as the UK. So one good thing is that it was nice to see that so much of my previous experience and previous knowledge really helped me in this role. I was already familiar with the applicant tracking system. The crazy thing is I hadn't used JobVite in years, and that company, the company I currently work for, we use JobVite as our applicant tracking system, and so it felt like using a new system, but it's an applicant tracking system. And so I used so many applicant tracking systems, it didn't take me long to realize, okay, I can make some templates to make this a little bit easier. Okay, this is where I move the candidates. This is where I put notes for my hiring managers. This is how I post a job, like just different things. This is how I get metrics, or I look at data. This is how I send rejections. So it was nice to see that information was, good information I had known that really helped me in that role. It was also nice that I already worked in full cycle recruiting. So to learn it in a strategic way, it wasn't much of a learning curve there. I think more of the learning curve was learning the organization, but not necessarily learning the recruiting part of things. I had previously in other positions reported to hiring managers and other leaders on how recruiting efforts were going. And so that was no different in this role. When I've done it for previous companies really didn't appreciate those updates and those reports as much. In some other companies that I've worked for, one in particular, I'll say it took them a while to understand that appreciation for that information. So this company, it was nice to walk in and they automatically found that to be valuable information, really appreciated it, definitely gave that undivided attention whenever you gave that information to them, took that information into consideration whenever making decisions. And so that was really, really, really helpful. And then using different tools. So I had already used LinkedIn Recruiter before. I already used Indeed. I already used ZipRecruiter. Though we don't use ZipRecruiter at all, we already have Indeed integrated. We use LinkedIn Recruiter a lot. So it was good to see that I already used it. I didn't use it at the capacity I use it now. So I live in LinkedIn Recruiter now. Before I had created some projects, post some jobs, simple things. So it's just nice to see okay, because I'd already used these things at some capacity, it wasn't scary to use it again. So just using previous knowledge was just amazing in that first year. It was a refresher because if any job, starting any new job, in my opinion, even as long as you've been working in whatever, like it can be intimidating. It can cause some nerves. It can make you a little anxious. And so that really helped me to make it like a really good year. It was interesting to see how my work style has changed in that year. So some of the notes that I had to like kind of make note of, or I wouldn't even remember, is that like I did more detailed intake meetings and downloads from my hiring managers. Before, I just kind of learned the role. You know, I would talk to employees, I would read the job description, and then just have like a basic understanding for the job. This company does so much that's so innovative, so new. I mean, it's a tech company. I've never worked in a tech company before. Like, I really had to do some detailed intakes and downloads to like really learn the job. And when I say intakes and downloads, it just means like HR is sitting with that hiring manager to learn like what are you looking for in this talent, and the new hires, like what are some of the goals you need, what type of field do you need, this is going to be a full-time position, a part-time position, a contract role, what's the day in the life, like truly understanding that job so that you can find people that fit that job. So those became pretty detailed, but I was able to like sit in on meetings or even our town hall meetings or dig into some of their resources to like learn the job more. So it's just crazy like to see that my work style had really changed. Like I was so anxious to learn it all and to feel comfortable that I used like every resource that I could use. And I guess you wouldn't say my work style really changed, but there are some things that changed for me to learn, you know, how to do it. I definitely do more elevated interviews. Like my questions are far more elevated. I find myself being a more detailed HR professional. Like my screenings aren't just HR related. Like I really hit on those skills because my plan is to always make sure that my hiring managers get people that they could potentially hire. And it's so nice to always get like compliments from not only the hiring managers, but their leaders and even employees or potential employees like on, man, you had a really good interview and you really hit in. It wasn't a traditional HR interview, that type of thing. But I always make sure to get the same basics out. I always start my interviews by making sure I go over the company, telling people what we are, who we are, how we produce, especially because we're a publicly traded organization. So you can easily find out information that way. And then I always ended it by, now if you didn't get picked, probably shouldn't give that example out. Well, I'll give that out because I'm no longer doing recruiting. But one thing that I don't think people realize is that if I didn't end it by scheduling you for an interview, then you're probably not getting an interview. There's some people I would just like keep warm for a period of time, but most times if I was going to have you considered for that position, I'm going to schedule before we get off the call. So I kind of ended it that way all the time, either scheduling them or just kind of ending. But my ending usually started with me making sure that they understood what the interview process looked like how many interviews, who you're going to interview with, that type of thing. It also included me talking about the notice period that they need to give their current organization, as well as the compensation that they're looking for. And then lastly, I would either schedule an interview or just get off the call. But it was nice working for a company that was absolutely comfortable with me sharing that salary range. And it was also even better working for a company that would look at that person for other opportunities that were immediately available. And it was nice just working with a company that has so many benefits. It was easy to kind of make sure that people were still interested in the role. And now I go into my next point. I kind of didn't hit on some of this stuff, but I'm going to just go ahead and do it anyhow. But one thing that I put here was how the company has changed my work. It's so crazy because my work got even more elevated. Like, I feel comfortable in human resources. I walked into that job feeling comfortable in human resources. So not only did I get an opportunity to work with a global company where we're working with new other cultures, other holidays, other resume types, other languages, other styles of communication. Like, so that definitely broadened my area in human resources. Like now I feel far more comfortable kind of knowing that other countries, you know, you can't just terminate somebody, expect them to be gone. Like notice periods are different. Like primarily documents that they would submit to start working, things like that. But I also started like sourcing for confidential roles. So there are different times that we may be looking for a role and it's a confidential search. So one, we might not know if we can even find somebody with these different skills. We might be trying to see like, what should the salary range really be like? What should the job description really be like? So we start looking for that talent or looking for those job descriptions ahead of time and making it like a company-wide thing or something that we post for a strategic purpose. So it's either because we know we feel confident we don't have the staff on hand, or we know that it goes with like a business strategy that's coming forward in the future. So it was nice to like do those confidential searches, because when you do confidential searches, that's a different type of search, because people are looking for the job description and you ain't got no job description. They be like, you pulling my leg. So it definitely took me knowing the company. It took me knowing like what that job would look like. It took me really having a good understanding to like start sourcing for confidential roles. So that was new for me. That was different. And then creating and researching job descriptions for like newly created roles. So we create so many new roles on a regular basis, and I did a lot of research for job descriptions and created a lot of new job descriptions that we never had existing before. Obviously, I partnered with the hiring manager, but that definitely elevated my work too, because I created a lot of job descriptions, but these ones were jobs I didn't know. It was like we wanted to make it. We really were trying to beat our competition, or to get people to see us as a better employer. And so it took a little technique there. And it was nice that I got so comfortable being a senior talent acquisition specialist that my VP of HR would task me with like training or kind of teaching my team members about different things. So that was nice. She also started including me in a meeting where we met with our highest revenue generating department that also has the highest amount of salary and headcount, and like reporting like where our recruitment team was and how we were doing and what we may need to change in the searches and things like that. So that was intimidating at first. It was intimidating at first, but it wasn't too bad in that meeting, and it really got better over time. At first it was a bit intimidating because now I can't just know about my roles. I had to learn what the status was on like my teammates' roles. I had to feel confident I knew where they were. And when you operate in that space, you kind of hear what the leaders are looking for and you see what your team doing. So you almost is that person to say, hey, I need you to go harder, or hey, go a little easier, or hey, do this instead. So it definitely was a little bit of like strategy there. But now I'm going to tell you about some of my accomplishments that your girl pretty proud of. So my first accomplishment that I didn't even have written here, because I wrote these notes down in August. Like my plan was to have this video up by November. And so it was just something I thought that I was going to do. I don't know why I did it so early. I guess I was trying to wait until my year anniversary to like tell y'all what my first year was like. That's what I was trying to do. At the time, I had this list here, but I want to add on one new one. So one amazing accomplishment that I think was great for me is that my team, my company, our leaders, particularly my VP of HR, like they just felt so confident in my skills, and they were so happy about the results that I created. You know, it was like, hey, you know, this is the opportunity that we have for you. We think you'd be a good fit or whatever. And that was amazing to have a company that just see your work ethic and that see how hard you grind and just appreciate you and appreciate internal equity and like things like that. So I am happy and I was thrilled to take on the new role of human resources business partner. Though I did like recruiting, I think I would have gotten burnt out eventually, because that ain't really me. That ain't really me. But I did well at it. So I was so happy because I decreased my time to fill. And I'll say overall, our plan has always been to make sure that our time to fill is an average of 45 days. And honestly, my VP, she wants it to be no more than 45 days. So from the time that you get that job posted to the time that you offer that position, that whole time should be done in 45 days, right? Sister girl got hers decreased. And I'll say this is my average of 25 to 30 days. I didn't normally go over 30 days. If I had a rec open 30 days, sister girl starting to feel some type of way. I had a few that were over 30, so this is the average, because I had some that definitely went over 30, but I had quite a few that I fill in like 3 days. Like I can take a candidate through all interviews in 3 days or 5 days or a week, and like bam, through all rounds of interviews. So my screening, 2 to 3, sometimes 4 extra interviews. So like I'd have a candidate interviewing 2 times in a day, or a day one interview every single day of the week, and fill it. I like that. I like that. It was nice to see hiring managers requesting me as their recruiter. Like they would literally be like, yeah, Tamika, I got such and such role coming up. I can't see anybody else doing it except you. That felt good. that means they really admired my work. So that was nice. I call that accomplishment, because that's one of those intrinsic values that you just be like, girl, you doing the damn thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really need to hear somebody tell you did good. You don't need to hear somebody tell you you're doing a job. Like, that's a compliment all in itself, right? I think another accomplishment that I like was just having more leads. Like, I learned how to source differently. So I started sourcing in like professional groups. If you are a writer, I'm jumping in Facebook groups. I'm jumping in groups on LinkedIn. I'm looking at hashtags. I'm definitely using LinkedIn Recruiter. I'm definitely using artificial intelligence tools. Like, I'm killing those Boolean searches. It was nice to see that I just had such a better time of creating those leads and turning those leads into warm leads by making employees go from somebody I'm just talking to in that source, wherever I found them, to somebody that actually applied, to somebody that actually interviewed, to go into multiple interviews. So that was just nice to see, like, man, I'm really finding them. It was nice to see me learn new techniques better. So I already knew how to do Boolean searches, but doing them so much better. Like, now I could easily say, okay, putting in just this job title, I might have, 2.5 million potential candidates. But I know if I do this, I can get it down to 1,000. I do this, I can get them down to like 200. Bam, I'm going to send out 200 messages. I'm going to probably get about, 80 people replying. And I'm going to get at least like 60 of them in my applicant tracking system. So that was just nice. I was just like, yeah, we getting it. And the best thing that I must admit, like, I didn't even say the best thing, like, all these things were great, but one thing that I really like was that we started doing surveys for our hiring managers and the people we interviewed to get feedback. Like, how did you feel like the interviewing process was? Did your recruiter do everything they can do to help you? Like, true feedback. Man, it was nice to see people who didn't get the job say, Tamika was amazing. I totally did this. I've never experienced this before. This was great. And to see hiring managers that just always like, Tamika's the best recruiter I ever had. I feel more confident with our HR department. I feel like we really have support in HR. Like, I just thought that was just nice. I had to stop looking at them, because you look at them all day long. Like, we get quite a few of them back, but that was just nice. I consider that a career accomplishment. So, y'all, I had a blast working in talent acquisition. And I think that the best part about this is I'm going to tell y'all that talent acquisition, in my opinion, can make you feel good in a couple ways. So, one, it makes you feel good because your compensation matches the type of work that you're doing. Most talent acquisition professionals get paid a comfortable salary. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, like, when you work for a company that truly, truly values you, value your work, value HR. Like, you ain't getting people who coming up with the BS all day long. Like, that feels good. Like, they truly just won't get the work done. Like, they value that, Tamika, I thought about this. I want to make sure you're okay with it. Hey, Tamika, this happened. I want to make sure you knew this was going on. Like, just appreciating HR, acting like a team. Man, it's crazy that I literally had to wait 10 years for a company like this and for a leader like this. I really appreciate my leader. I think she's a hard worker. She makes it hard to not do well because she's always on the go. But she always makes it hard too, because I'd be like, man, I can't keep up. I think it was such a blessing to work in talent acquisition. It'll be interesting to see what I do with my career after being a human resources business partner. I don't think I'll leave this company or this position anytime soon. I'm pretty happy with it. And so if you guys have any questions about working as a talent acquisition specialist, then you can feel free to reach out to me, put it in the comments below. But I already did a video, and in that video I talked all about a day in the life of a talent acquisition specialist. I'll put it right here for you guys. I'll also link it down in the description box below. If any of you are finding this video for the first time, I really hope that you found some value in this video, because everything that I said, I truly said it from the heart. If you wanted some raw emotions on talent acquisition, then you really got it today. I know so many of these HR videos are just kind of curated and things like that, and even some of mine are, but this is one I did from the heart. So for those of you who are returning, thank you so much for returning. For those of you who are new, I ask you to please subscribe, because I promise I'm gonna give you even more good content. Y'all know I cannot wait to see y'all on the next video.